something sturdy, basically. So that's why we're out on my patio. So this is my railing that you can attach it to. But if you don't have that, I'll walk you through some modifications and some other things that you can do for that. So we're going to start with the ball. We're going to be hanging out mostly on the ground, so figure out whatever is comfortable for you with that. If you need a pillow or a towel underneath, you can do that. So we're going to take the ball, and I'm going to sit like this, and we're going to be working right along your shin to the inside of your ankle bone here, okay? So you're going to take your ball, and I'm using kind of my body weight to lean forward here to push down, and I'm rolling on the inside of that shin bone. So the reason I always mention the body weight is if you're working really hard, you're not going to want to hang out here, and the whole point of a lot of this is to stay relaxed and work on your body. So pushing down, we're going to roll right along that shin. This is usually a pretty tender area for people, especially if you've dealt with any shin splints or everyone that's been running and walking a lot more right now. So you're going to work up towards the knee. And we're just kind of, you can roll a little bit back and forth, side to side. Push this way. I'm having some bad karma with Facebook today. I went live in the wrong group at 4 o'clock, in case you guys saw that in this group. And then now it's not going live on Facebook, but I'll throw the recording in there, no problem. Okay, so as I'm following along my shin bone here, I'm also kind of peeling towards the inside. So we're getting also part of that calf muscle. Flex your foot back and forth here. Come down. And then let's go towards the ankle bone a little bit more here. So as I get closer to kind of the Achilles area, I can work a little bit further down. And if you have a grippier ball, this area is a nice spot to do some twisting. If you keep your foot active, we can work on some of that skin muscle connection, which is really nice. All that moving. And then let's hang out a little bit on the inside of that heel here. Pushing down. A little bit of that twisting back and forth. I get the inside of the heel. So we're literally just following a path of a muscle. It's called your posterior tibialis. Actually goes all the way to the arch, can create a lot of plantar fasciitis type pain. And it's actually kind of fun if you watch your toes as you roll this area, you'll see them kind of move a little bit. I am not doing that intentionally. Just shows everything's connected. Okay, let's switch to the other side. So we're coming in here. Start up towards your knee. Give this another shot here. So up towards the knee. Starting along that shin bone, but also working towards the inside. And then as you kind of drop down, keep checking along that shin bone. Coming toward the inside, getting some of those deeper calf muscles. I'm hoping there's people on my in my apartment complex also joining as they're hearing me. I should have invited all of them. And then come down towards that Achilles. Again, if you have a grippier ball, you can get some of that twisting back and forth. You can work on that skin here. There we go. Oh, hey, Jesse. We have not met yet, but we need to. You want my patio door? Thought it was kind of, I just needed to figure out a place to attach these bands. So again, I'll give you lots of ideas for if you don't have something to attach them to. I've played with lots of funky things, but okay, let's get that inside of the heel here. Yes, it'll happen. So twisting on the inside of that heel bone. Remember to really play with that foot position. So if my foot's relaxed here, it's gonna work different parts of that tissue as if my foot was flexed up this way. And this is the flexibility that we really want for walking and running and all that stuff. Hey, Cheryl. Got Kevin. And then you can get that inside of the heel, or sorry, inside of the arch. Watch your toes wave at you. Okay, we're gonna do most of the ball stuff on the ground here, and then I'll walk you through some of the stretching towards the end. So the areas that we're gonna be focusing on, calf and ankle, but we're also gonna do some stuff with the hip here. So what I want you guys to do is you're gonna take your ball, and everything I'm showing you, you can go up against the wall if the ground is a little bit too intense. But we're gonna be working, so top of the pelvis bone here, we're gonna drop right below it. And you're gonna lay face down like this. Not sure if I left some food on the counter. I hear some mischievous things going on in there. So you'll see kind of on the front part, right below that hip bone. Pretty tender, again. I feel like all these areas are a little bit tender, right? Especially if you've never worked these areas. So think of it as your first introduction to talking to this tissue. And we're going a little bit side to side. And then what I'm gonna have you do, try not to kick my drink back there, is I'm gonna have you bend your knee and then straighten. So we're just going back and forth here. We've done this a lot when we've done hip stuff or quad stuff. And then if you keep your knee bent, you can also play a little bit side to side. So just kind of play with those a little bit and see which one seems to work that area the most for you. And keep kind of wiggling here. And then I'm actually gonna roll to my side a little bit here. So I'm gonna spin like this. So I can stay propped up. I can come down on my forearm. And same thing, I'm kind of rolling a little bit side to side. You can, if this is more comfortable to kind of support your body weight there, we can do that. And you won't see, excuse me, you won't see as much of my knee bending here, but you can add some of that knee bending and straightening. Rolling. Perfect. Okay, so that first spot, we were right along that pelvic bone. Nope, you have to stay there. We're gonna drop down a little bit lower here. So you can be on your side, and then I can also roll to the front area. So I'm just rolling here, just back and forth. So if you're standing up against the wall, still try to get that same direction. Just kind of getting that hip flexor, top of the quad. And then we'll go a little bit to the side. So as I roll to the side, everyone's a little bit, go ahead and stay on the ground, but everyone's a little bit anatomically different here. So my pelvic bone and my leg, the top of my leg bone here, this is that distance. So if you're really narrow there, you may not have a second spot to hit, and you're gonna hit that bone. So we wanna just go another time somewhere in between this area. So I'm just dropping down a little bit lower, going a little bit side to side. All right, let's switch to that other side. So starting right below pelvis bone. I'm getting the death stare from my dog right now on the other side. But I'm pretty sure if she tries to walk through, all my technology here is gonna fall off. There we go. So we're rolling side to side, bending that knee. Oh, and there it happened. Stay, stay. So we're gonna bend and straighten here. A little bit side to side. And then we'll roll to this, all the way to the side here. So you can prop up with your arm, prop up with your leg if you need to. And add some of that knee bending if you have space. I was just doing a virtual visit with one of my patients today, and it's been really cool because I can see them in their home environment. So we were looking at her sleeping position, and she has one of those beds where it comes up and basically lifts your legs and your chest, so you're kind of bent all night. Go ahead and drop to that level down on the front. And so I was talking to her about, you know, when we sleep, that's when our tissues heal. So if we're in kind of this bent position where our hips are being closed a little bit, or even sleeping in the fetal position. A lot of people sleep in the fetal position. And that's when our tissues heal, and so they kind of get tight and stuck in that position. Not stuck, they just get shortened in that position. So then what ends up happening, go ahead and roll back to that side spot here. What ends up happening is we try to stand in the morning and walk around, and because you've been shortened for hopefully 8 hours or a good amount of time for sleep, in order to stand up properly, we end up having to arch our back or another part of our body. So working this area helps to open up that, especially if you tend to sit a lot. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna do one more thing before we get into the band stuff. So I want you to grab bolster, towel rolled up, something that you can lay on. And I'm literally going to be right at the top of those hip bones here, pelvis bones. So I'm gonna lay at an angle here so you can see. So I'm gonna lay right with it face down. And so if I tuck my toes under and kind of pull my body down and just lay here, what you're gonna feel is the bolster and the towel should be pulling your pelvis bones up, and you should feel this nice lengthening. I'm actually gonna show you from the side here with my knees bent. So your knees don't have to be bent, but there's this nice opening. It almost feels a little bit like your skin is being pulled, and that's that area that gets really tight. So you can lay here. You can try bending your knees if you want some more intensity. I'm just doing it because my patio is nice and narrow. Here. So as I'm here, I'm gonna squeeze my glutes, and this is gonna help open this area. And then relax them. And then squeeze. And then relax. Let's do one more squeeze here. And then relax. Okay. So if you are hanging out at home and looking for a better position to hang out in, even if you're doing work, reading, watching TV, this is a good passive thing that you can hang out for, 10, 20 minutes, something like that, and really work on lengthening that area, which is awesome. So we're going to grab this band here. So pull-up band it's just it's got a lot of good tension here. And so what we're gonna do is we're looping it onto something that's sturdy. So could be a heavy bed, could be, it could even be another person, not for this first one. Actually, yes, for this first one, you can do that too. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your foot on the band, and I'm actually making a figure 8 on top here. So if you'll see that there. And grab your other strap, towel, something. So what I'm doing is I'm creating some good tension here in the band. So this is just kind of letting my ankle go. So if you don't have a band, we can do a basic kind of calf stretch here. But I would suggest getting a band at some point because this is just a really nice way to open up I'm going to call it junkie because that's what my Instagram post talked about today. So just kind of a joint that as it's moving, as that ankle is moving back, it's just not flowing very well. So when we get this traction in the ankle joint, we can get a completely different stretch on our ankle here. So what I'm going to do is create kind of this pumping motion. So I'm going to pull my foot back, and then relax. And just kind of go through this motion. If you're on a surface where you feel like you're getting pulled, you can always bend this opposite knee. Go back and forth with that. If you've had any old ankle sprains, or even, this is actually one that I will give a more acute ankle sprain to get some blood flow going. Just kind of getting some pumping motion. There's a potential that you might not even feel it in your calf, but you should feel that pulling in the ankle joint. And just like we've chatted about in our hip joints, we have that capsule. So there's that tissue that's deeper to the muscles. And that's part of what we're working here in the ankle joint. Okay, let's go ahead and unwrap that. We're going to switch to the other side. Hey, Aini. Pop, 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 pop. Okay, so we got the other side here. Try to get out of the way. So make sure there's some good tension that you're pulling apart. There we go. Good tension, got the figure 8 here, and just do your best to let the band pull your leg. And then I'm gonna grab this other strap here and do some back and forth pulling here. So it's this pumping motion that actually helps to get any stagnant fluid, inflammation, anything like that out of there as well. So that's why it's so good for an ankle sprain, or even if you just tend to get swollen ankles from traveling, stuff like that. had plenty of ankle sprains as a soccer player, so I wish I would have known about this back in the day. There we go. Okay, let's come on out of that. So now we're gonna go through some fun stuff with this band for your hip, okay? So I'm gonna bring the band about hip height if I was kneeling. So if you are uncomfortable kneeling, what we're gonna go through is you're actually gonna do the chair or couch stretch that we've gone through a couple times. So you're gonna be either up like this with your foot up against the back, or we're gonna be foot here and you're gonna be squeezing your glute and pressing your hip forward so you get a good stretch on the front. If you have a band, we're gonna be here. And we're gonna start here with the kneeling side on the band. And I'm just gonna be lunging forward here. So I'm keeping this glute active, my core active, so that everything is focused on this hip. And I'm just kind of lunging forward here. So I like this one. We're not working as much of the joint here. We're just kind of working that area that I was talking about that really kind of gets sticky in here. We're just lunging forward a little bit. You can get some of that freestyle movement in here. We can even lift this arm up overhead. Same thing if you're in the chair, you can add that arm reaching up overhead. So, sorry, I forgot to mention this. If you have a band but don't have anything to attach it to, but you have another human, you guys can be back to back and have this band. This could be someone else's leg. So you'd be butt to butt and just doing the same stretch at the same time, which is amazing. Just make sure when we go through some of the movement, you coordinate, because it's no fun to snap the band on your friend. Okay, so I'm gonna spin. So here, the band is now pulling sideways. So I'm still going to be doing this lunging forward motion, but the band is pulling that direction. My glute is still active. My core is still active. So we're just going back and forth here. Add some of that same arm up overhead. And then the last position here that we're going to go through is facing where the band is attached. So I still have the banded side down and that leg is up. So the band is kind of scooping your butt cheek here. And then I'm still squeezing my butt and leaning my hip forward. This one for me is the one I feel the most, but it just kind of depends on where your tightness is. Add that reach. You can even add a little twist. And then we'll come on out of that. So we'll switch to the other side. Same thing if you're in the chair. If you guys are doing the chair option, when we do the glute squeeze and release, that gets a similar action on the joint. So it's a good thing to keep focusing on. So legs in the band here. Lunging forward. Keep the glute and core nice and active. And this one, again, we're just feeling that nice pull here. And then as we rotate to the side, excuse me. As we rotate to the side, we're getting more of that lateral pull. And this is where we start to get into the joint more. So we're creating that space. Same thing with the ankle joint. Flushing it out. Reach that arm up overhead. And then we'll do the last position here. So you're gonna face the band attachment. Scoop it right underneath your butt cheek. And then lunge forward here. So active, active, lunging forward. And you can see how easy it is to kind of dump into your lower back. So stay, that's why we keep these active, to make sure it's all directed at your hip. You can reach this arm up overhead. Get that twist. And then we can come on out. So just to show this position really quickly, what I was talking about with, if this angle, this is the angle that we want to be nice and open, so that when we stand, we don't have to overarch our back to stand upright. So if we're kind of stuck in this position, this is the only way that we can be. So if we can open the hips with everything that we did tonight, that can help to just reduce lower back strain, make it more efficient for your glutes to active, because if this isn't open, it's harder for this muscle to actually to turn on. So spending time opening up the hips is always a good thing. From the stuff that we did tonight, I love doing the banded stuff pre-movement, pre-workout, pre-walk, because it's getting those that blood flow in there, getting that movement. And then I like to do a lot of the ball stuff after. But if you're just hanging out, having a rest day like we just did, you can do the ball first and then the band after. So I will link up the band it's actually on my website. So if you go to stayinvincible.com, the self-care tools, you can find my favorite band and all the other tools there. So you can actually go check it out there. And keep chatting with the people in your community this week to see, just kind of listen, like, are they talking about different pain points? And you can start sharing some of the stuff that you've been learning here with them. And then if you hear something that we haven't gone over, just shoot me a message, post it somewhere, just let me know and we'll keep tackling that. We will be, we're doing a class on Friday morning, 8 a.m. It will probably be the last Friday morning class because I'm opening up more patient hours. So that's going to be a time, but you guys get to hang out with me in my office on Friday and let me know if you have any special requests. And that is it. Hope you have a good evening and I will see you then.